what I was going to say. I didn't know you moved to the tributary. Which part?
Mr. Estes, sorry.
No, you're good. I don't think he's online.
No, I asked Mr. Davis. Thank you. No, thank you, sir.
I'll double check.
We've been dealing with the truck parking. All the extra no parking signs. Yeah. We had the city put those up. Our officers would write tickets out there. That's all based on. Yeah. 25. 25. Don't put extra years on me. My kids go to college. I got another 7 years. Technically, I can retire in 2. Okay. But I could only be able to afford it. Yeah. Yeah, I took care of that problem after they retired.
Okay, 6 o'clock. I know. We'll call to order the City of Douglasville City Council Legislative Work Session for tonight, which is December the 17th. Our invocation will be done by Pastor Gene Fields of the Heritage Baptist Church. Good to see you. And after that, we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led by the Mayor Pro Tem. Mayor Pro Tem, Councilmember Terry Miller. Please stand for the invocation.
Let us pray. Our dear Heavenly Father, first we thank you for this day. Father, I pray specifically at this moment, Father, for our mayor and our city council. Father, I'm so thankful that, Father, you have blessed them. Father, that you have given them a passion and a love for our community and Father, the spiritual gift of leadership. So, Father, we just thank you for who they are, Father. Father, I'm thankful for our community, Father. It's a blessing to be here at this time and in this place. Father, I'm thankful that we do get to pray at this moment and in this setting. And, Father, that is an honor and a blessing as well. Father, 700 years before your son was born, in a time when there was great uncertainty in your land, Father, you gave the people hope. You told the prophet Isaiah that there would be a son that would be born, and the government would be on his shoulders, and his name would be Mighty Counselor, Everlasting God, Mighty Father, an eternal gift from you, Father. Father, we thank you that you have given us hope, and hope in your Son Jesus. So, Father, in these days of uncertainty, Father, may we not just be celebrating gifts and Christmas in a season, that we celebrate your Son. It's in his name I pray. Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, for leading us in the pledge. And Pastor Fields, we appreciate the invocation and prayer that you've brought forth. It's wonderful. It's a little cold out there, so we needed that. So thank you so much, and welcome to the Douglasville City Council Legislative Work Session. My name is Rochelle Robinson. I'm mayor of the city of Douglasville, and I'll go through protocol for us, and then we'll get right into our meeting. I know we still are under the governor's order, so we'll have to make certain about capacity. If we have a counter to make certain that we stay socially distanced and that we have the number of individuals that are supposed to be here. But tonight's meeting is being conducted in whole or in part by teleconference. And is Councilman Estes on the line? Assistant City Manager? Okay, so we don't have to go through that. But this is an open meeting of the Douglasville Mayor City Council. It's being conducted by teleconference consistent with the official code of Georgia, annotated section 50-14-1G, due to emergency conditions involving public safety, in order to mitigate the transmission of the coronavirus and to reduce the risk of COVID-19 illness. That code section, which you can find posted with agenda materials for this meeting, allows local governments to meet in whole or partially by teleconference in the event of an emergency, so long as means are afforded for the public to have simultaneous access to the teleconference meeting. For this meeting, we are convening partially by Zoom software as shown on the city's website, describing how the public may join, which is via YouTube media platform. This is a work session where agenda items are presented for discussion only, and no official action will be taken tonight. Official action will be taken on these items discussed tonight on Monday, December the 21st at 6 p.m. If the business you're here for is not listed as an agenda item, there will be ample time under the item agenda item comments from citizens and delegates section for you to discuss your business, and just a few protocol issues, and then we'll adhere to the agenda, which is posted on the screen, or you can pick up a physical copy outside on the desk. I'll ask that you would please keep your comments and presentations on a professional level, dealing with the facts that are important for this governing body to make our decisions. We will not accept comments that are considered by the chair of that committee to be of a personal attack on any individual or group of individuals. You receive a warning from the chair, and if you deviate from this requirement for a second time, we'll ask that you will not continue to speak. Only one person speaking at a time. Please do not applaud or react to speakers or speak from the audience, cheer or carry on a conversation while you come to the podium. I will remind you that you were only required to accept public comments during public hearings for zoning matters. If you have a cell phone or other electronic devices, please put those in silent mode or power those off until after the meeting so they won't be disruptive during our meeting. The agenda items will be handled as the following. The committee chairperson will read the agenda item. Then that person representing the agenda item or applicant will make his or her presentation and give us all your information. And then myself and council members will possibly ask questions to help us make our decision next Monday. After that, the committee chairperson will ask for comments or statements from the audience. There is a maximum of 20 minutes for those that are in favor of that item and 20 minutes for those in opposition. Each person has 5 minutes, but if you have a group of speakers that will add up more than 20 minutes, you can split your time up and have 2 or 3 minutes per person speaking, but in totality and total, each side only has 20 minutes to speak. When you come to the podium, please give us your name and address for the record. And we do not have any repeat persons. You only have one opportunity to speak. Now, there is a card that's out on the desk outside that I mentioned that have the agendas as well. Please fill that card out and hand that card to our Assistant City Manager, Ms. Candace Jackson. And again, each person has one opportunity to talk. This is not a question and answer format or debate. We're just really here to take the information and consider that to make our determination on Monday. And please address all of your comments to the chair. And if you have any printed material, please hand that to our city clerk, and she will make certain to, or assistant city clerk, and they'll make certain to give that to us, and we'll put it in our agendas and have that to help us make our decision. And all the other materials are uploaded to our iPads. So those, that's kind of the protocol for how the meeting will take place this evening. Now we'll go to announcements and presentations. And we do have a special presentation. It is not printed here. We didn't want to give the person, let them know that we're going to do this. But we have an employee with the city, and he's not an employee. This is a team member. He has been leading the ship in the city for so many years, and we just appreciate, and I will take a personal privilege to say I appreciate this person sticking around with the city to help us know where the bodies are buried, as they say. When I served on city council, just really being someone in the community who is a pillar in the community, and we really appreciate him. So, attorney, he's looking at me. He always says, no business, Madam Mayor. But this person has been with the city for 40 years. Can you believe that? 40 years. And so we would please ask that our city attorney, Mr. Joel Dotson, don't get me, Mr. Dotson, if you would please come forward. We want to present you with your 40-year something you can put in the bank, or, you know, you can disseminate it to the grandchildren. But if you would come forward to council and just, if you wanted to give any comments, you could. Maybe tell us how many mayors, if you can remember, how many mayors have you served with, Attorney Dotson? You've been helping us for so many years. But please, let's give him a hand for 40 years of service.
Well, I'm truly honored by this audition. I think I've had 4 mayors. I was Mayor Kemp.
Yes, sir.
Harvey Persons, Mickey Thompson, and yourself.
Yes, sir. Mr. Camp was mayor for 26 years or something?
Yes, ma'am, that's about right.
That's a long time.
He was on the council before he was the mayor for several terms.
Wow. Sir, do you want to say anything else?
Well, time flies when you're happy. It's really hard to believe I've been here that long.
Yes, sir.
And it's been a pleasure. The city's always been lucky enough to have elected officials who were fiscally conservative.
Yes, sir.
And had a vision for the future and cared about providing increased services and growth. So,
thank you.
As I often told Mayor Camp, it's a piece of cake.
Yes, yes, sir. So this plaque says Service Award from 1980 until 2020, presented to Attorney Joel Dotson in appreciation of outstanding and loyal service to the city of Douglasville. And it is presented to you from myself and members of the city council. And I will open the floor for any members of the council that would like to say anything. I don't want to put anyone on the spot, but if you all would like to say anything, please, we'll start with Dr. Burt Danley.
Just thank you, Attorney Dotson. You're so humble and just a very astute and exceptional. I appreciate you.
Councilmember Miller.
About the humble part.
That is such an accomplishment, and I am so grateful to you for your dedication to our community, and thankful for the opportunity to serve along with you in this time period. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Councilman Davis.
I can say a whole lot about my friend, but I thank Joel, and I tell you, I can go way back. And when I used to work for his sister around the lake.
Oh, wow.
Thank you, Joel. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Councilmember Mayor Pro Tem?
Joel, just want to say thank you for all those years. And it's been a pleasure and an honor working alongside a first-rate legal mind like yours. And you've put a lot into the city. We appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Councilmember Adams.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
You're welcome.
Mr. Dotson, I think you're dating both of us a lot, both of us being local and having been here all these years, but I did not realize of the speaking capabilities that you had. I would think you should come back and expound upon some of those at a later time for us, but I do want you to know how much I appreciate you, your candidness, and your humor. I'm touched by that. I miss you sitting right here.
I know it.
Because we can maybe have a few laughs along with all these serious things we have to consider, but hurry back, would you? Don't get any ideas of leaving.
Yes. Sir.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate all you've done for us.
Councilmember Watts.
These last 5 years for me, it's been just looking back there and seeing you and Susan. I know we're in good hands and appreciate your service to the city. Joe, thank you.
Thank you. Now, Mr. Dotson, we'll come around and give you a check and a plaque, and I have a personal gift, and I'll say to you, my son is 21 now, and his name is Joel, and when he first came to the city council meeting in 2002, I think he was 7, and I was pregnant, and I had a daughter who was 5, and when they said your name, he said, and he was sitting in the audience, and he said it really loud, I was so embarrassed, he said, "Hey, Mommy," his name is Joel and my name is Joel. So we just appreciate you and how gracious you are, because you, after the meeting, you went to him and you said, "Hey, Joel, my name is Joel and your name is Joel."
Well,
So,
I'd like to thank you all for enduring me for 40 years.
yes, sir. Let's give him another hand, and council, please come around, take a picture. Thank you so much, citizens and our audience participants. We appreciate you allowing us to do that. There was a study that said people, a lot of times you leave jobs for more pay, but oftentimes they leave because they are not showed appreciation. So we never want to let any team member from the city of Douglasville leave because they don't feel appreciated. So thank you for allowing us to do that. Now we'll move on to our next agenda item, which is number 5, is Economic Development Committee, and that's chaired by Mayor Pro Tem Terry Miller.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have no business at this time under the Economic Development Committee.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. I will move on then to Finance Committee, that's chaired by Councilmember Mark Adams.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have 3 items tonight under Finance to discuss. First is adopt an ordinance to amend the City of Douglasville's fiscal year 2020-2021 SPLOST fund budget. Mr. Shane Bird is going to help us with that, and I see Ms. Callan's in the audience also if needed. You go ahead, sir.
Hi, good evening, Madam Mayor and esteemed council. It's a pleasure to be here tonight and to present our 10th budget amendment for our special purpose local option sales tax fund. Essentially, what I'm going to go over tonight, as provided in the memo to this legislative item, is essentially going through our 4 categories for SPLOST, and the first one is our public safety SPLOST. It's specific projects for public safety, and essentially this piece of this budget amendment is essentially housekeeping, just to close out completed projects and projects that came in under budget. So we're essentially adding those funds back into the public safety contingency to be later absorbed into future projects. Our next category is our facilities projects. We're essentially adding in some interest proceeds to help pay off the final construction budget on the 2 facilities that we had built. That is the Courthouse Square Maintenance Facility and the Cedar Mountain Road Maintenance Facilities. And then in addition to that, we're also using up the remainder of the facilities projects contingency, and that will completely close out our facilities SPLOST for this 2016 SPLOST. And then we have no changes to our transportation projects at this time. That'll be presented in a future budget amendment, most likely budget amendment number 11, when we present that to you at a future meeting. And then we have some changes to our parks and recreation projects budgets, and I'll go over those real quick with you. Just to start off, we're going to complete out some project budgets, so we're essentially moving some funds around to essentially finish these projects out, and they're listed here in the memo attached to the agenda item. And that essentially all totals out to a reduction of $6,800 to close out those projects. Next, we have a reduction of about $1 million for the Town Green project, which is being allocated to other projects. And just to go over that real quick with you, the Town Green project is still underway. We are just looking at future other financing sources, whether it be bond issuance or another revenue source. And this is essentially allowing us to take some funds and apply it to other good projects within the Parks and Recreation Department. That being said, we do have an addition of $625,000 for Jesse Davis Park, and that's to complete phases 1 through 3 design services, with $70,000 remaining to go towards a monument sign at the front of the park once State Route 92 is finished being realigned and relocated. Then we're also going to add an additional $250,000 to the renovation of the Club Drive maintenance facility. That is a facility that was vacated when our Public Services Department moved into their new facilities. So we're essentially doing a light renovation on this facility to allow our parks maintenance to have a home. Next, we have a reduction of $187,000 for the Hunter Park Walking Trail project. Essentially, we're looking at possibly funding that in a future SPLOST or at the back end of this SPLOST once some of these other projects are completed out. And then we have an addition of $360,000 for the West Pines bunkers. Those are the sand pits or sand traps there at the West Pines Golf Course. And this will allow for us to do that construction based on these construction estimates that we've been provided. And then lastly, we are just reducing the Parks and Recreation contingency by $3,200, and that will essentially be allocated into these above projects that I had mentioned. And to put that all wrapped up in a nice bow, that will give us an adjusted SPLOST budget of $38,231,000 or $231,871.
Thank you, Mr. Byrd. I know we've heard from the Finance Department in our 5 o'clock meeting concerning this, that we'd had a discussion and presentation by their group. Just wonder if there are any additional questions or comments at this moment concerning it. Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to clarify something, SPLOST funds are use it or lose it, is that correct? If we don't?
Well, they are specifically allocated to projects based on a voter referendum that was in 2016. So essentially through the life of the SPLOST program, they have to be spent on those specific projects. So once we have the funds, we then will allocate them to these projects until the SPLOST is essentially
So
more, and we've used those funds.
It sits there until it gets used, specifically for those. Okay, I got you. The other thing is, there's one item that you mentioned here I'm trying to wrap my head a little bit around, was the $360,000 for the West Pine bunkers. Is that something you can expound on a little bit?
To be discussed in just a moment.
Oh, okay.
Another item under the same, and then we'll have further discussion. I'm sorry that we got those crossed.
Okay. I can wait for that. Thanks.
Thank you.
That's all, Mr. Chair.
Anyone else? All righty. I won't ask, because of that very item, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, I won't ask that we place this on the consent agenda. I'll ask that we take a vote on it on Monday for that reason, so we'll make sure we have clarity. Thank you, Mr. Byrd.
Thank you all.
Any other question? Okay. Moving on to item B, authorize the mayor to sign a corrective deed to Rooker Riverside LLC to correct the legal description for land received by the city in a 2020 land swap. And it shows that Ms. Littlefield's going to handle that item for us.
Mr. Chairman, you will recall several months ago, I believe it was last summer, we did a land swap with Rooker. They had asked us to swap land with them so that they could take a historical site in the middle that was surrounded by their property and give us some property near Sweetwater Creek as an exchange. And whenever you do a land swap, you have both pieces to be appraised, and the city has to get at least as good a deal as they're giving away. In our swap, we received much more acreage than we gave away, and the value was much higher than what we gave away. Rooker has now discovered that when they deeded the property to us, they had already deeded part of it, about a half acre, to someone else in a prior deed. And of course, that really makes no difference. We still get the benefit of the deal, but on record, we need to give them a corrective deed so that other owner has no cloud on its title, and we all own the correct amount and the lines are in the right place. And they've asked us to authorize them to sign a corrective deed so that they can file it for that purpose.
Thank you, Ms. Littlefield. So basically a bookkeeping or a housekeeping issue, corrective deed issue. Any question or comment concerning this? Any public comment? Okay, seeing none, that I would ask that we place this on the consent agenda for Monday. Thank you. Item number 3, item C, authorize the mayor to sign a golf course design agreement with L. William Bergin for design services for the bunker renovation. This is an item that I think Mr. Cartwright was going to speak with us about, but Madam City Manager, I think, wants to take the front there on this. What is your item, Ms.
Just to let you all know that this is on your committee agenda for Monday night. We didn't think we would have time to discuss it tonight, so I would suggest that you all wait for discussion on Monday. If you choose to not want to move forward with the project, we can always do another budget amendment to remove that item out of your SPLOST budget.
So we will not discuss this then tonight, I'm sorry. We'll discuss it on Monday, prior to our meeting, 6 o'clock meeting, if that's okay. All right. Any question or comment there? Seeing none, then, Madam Mayor, that's all that we have tonight under finance. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. We'll move on then to Housing and Community Affairs Committee. That's chaired by Councilmember Dr. LaShun Danley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have no business tonight.
Thank you, ma'am. Legislative and Intergovernmental Committee. That's chaired by Councilmember Samuel Davis.
Yes, ma'am. No items met this time. Thank you.
So much. I tried to turn my phone. It still didn't work. I apologize. So we'll move on to the next committee, which is Personnel and Organization Committee. That's chaired by Councilmember Chris Watts.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have no business tonight in personnel and organization.
Thank you so much, Councilman Watts. We'll move on to item 10, which is Planning and Development Committee. That's chaired by Councilmember Mark Adams.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have several items tonight under Planning and Development. We will start item A, an item was tabled December 7th, 2020. Consider a request for approval of a development plan for Oakmont Skyview Drive for 25.88 acres at 2084 and 2120 Skyview Drive, land lot 521, District 18, Section 2, Parcel 3, and land lot 480, District 18, Section 2, Parcel 1. For plans dated November 6, 2020, applicant was Oakmont Packlet Acquisitions, LLC. Ms. Williams?
Patrice Williams, Community Development Director, 6701 Church Street. As the item reads, the item was tabled at our last round of meetings, but the applicant is with us tonight, and so we're going to try and move forward with it. The applicant is Oakmont Packlet Acquisitions, LLC, case number PPR 20-0023. The applicant is seeking approval of a development plan. The proposal currently depicts a warehouse with a truck court and auto parking lot and allowable use in the light industrial zoning district. The site address is 2084 Skyview Drive, 2021 Skyview Drive, approximately 25 acres of land. Section code 9.03 provides for all zoning requirements and conditions for the approval of a development plan. The proposed plan does meet the development requirements of the UDO.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. I think that this had been requested to be tabled because of a deed or a combination of property or a property line being moved within the property, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Questions, comments? Okay. If there are none, then we will consider this then on Monday night for a vote to go forward with it. Okay. Anything else there?
That's all.
Okay. Item B. Consider a request for plat approval for the purpose of lot line revision for 25.88 acres at 2080 and 2120 Skyview Drive, land lot 480, District 18, Section 2, Parcel 1, and land lot 521, District 18, Section 2, Parcel 3. Application by Urban Engineers Incorporated. Ms. Williams?
Patrice Williams, Community Development Director, 6701 Church Street. Again, the applicant is Oakmont Packlet Acquisitions, LLC. Case number PPR 20-0028. The applicant is requesting final plat approval. The applicant's request will enlarge the 2120 trike from 9.7 acres to 21.579 acres and reduce the 2084 trike from 16.18 acres to 4.301 acres to accommodate the proposed 181,430 square foot warehouse. The site address is 2084 Skyview Drive, 2021 Skyview Drive, approximately 25 acres. The proposed final plat meets the requirements of the UDO.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. Questions, comments? This would be the second part of item A. Questions or comments? Okay. Seeing none, then we'll take that up on Monday night for a vote, and we thank you all for that. Item C. Authorize the mayor to sign a development agreement with IDI Logistics, LLC. Ms. Williams? All right. Ms. Littlefield?
I'll help you with that, Mr. Chairman. Your next matter after this one is to reconsider the zoning for IDI. and you have already referred it to the Planning Commission, and they have done their work. We have been offered some concessions by the developer with regard to that, and they can only go into a development agreement because they are not matters you can dictate through a zoning ordinance. If you decide to approve the zoning, then you may impose the special conditions that are in this development agreement if you desire to do that. Then the developer will perform his conditions as well. And you'll see that what has been proposed here is that the zoning to LI would have to be approved by the City Council, and the appropriate overlay districts would go into place. QGD overlay district would come into play. If there's any flood hazard on the property, we're saying, of course, that will apply. This particular property is exempt from the MERPA state statute, and your local ordinance has a mirror to that. So we're saying that it would also be exempt from the local MERPA part of the ordinance. So that's a setback from the river. And so if you zone the property here, the special stipulation is that it would be exempt from that as well. Also, if the state allows stream setbacks to not apply, then yours, which mirror them, would not apply. That's number 3. We would impose a special stipulation that on the property there would be a 24-hour, 7-day-per-week access for trucks that have business on the property, and that they could park there. So there would be no queuing on the roadway due to inability to get onto the property. That's number 2. Your city staff would approve an alternate parking plan, which they can do, and require no more than 532 parking spaces. Normally, your ordinance would require more than that, but your staff can approve less. The obligation on the developer, if you approve that, is that the developer would have to pay the city $100,000, which would be held and used for improvements to Riverside Parkway or its right-of-way, or the acquisition of more right-of-way. If you approve the development agreement and you sign it, you would sign it before voting on your zoning item so that it's in place, and we would sign it right there in the meeting and have it signed by IDI so that the agreement is in place. Now, the agreement does not obligate you to do the zoning, but it has no use if you don't approve the zoning. It's just a null and void thing. So please let me answer questions if I can do that for you.
So basically then, if it goes forward, then signing that document, we would actually sign that document at the time we approved it prior to going on to the next item to even consider the potential rezoning.
Yes, it would be in place so that the developer doesn't receive his zoning until he's under contract to do his part.
I understand. Okay. Are there others that would need to make any comment or make any statement concerning the item? Staff, anyone else? Okay. Any questions, comments? Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, go ahead.
We would be voting on that Monday, and at that time we vote that issue first. If it's approved, we sign it then and there on the spot. Then we have the second vote on the approval of the.
Then we would vote on the next item there.
You need a vote on the next item regardless, but yes. Your approval on the first one would have no effect if you don't approve the zoning item after that.
I look forward to discussing this in greater detail only because the council member who represents this particular ward is not here tonight, and I know that he wasn't able to make online as well, so I think it's definitely critical that we get his opinion on this matter as well before we move too farther forward on it. Other than to say that, I guess it looks like the question comes down to is $100,000 enough to buy us off? Is changing the zoning worth $100,000 to the city? Something that we have to decide on, because that's what it is. That's all, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Other comments? Ms. Miller, did you have a comment?
I'm just kind of curious why this is not a hearing with everything else being a hearing, but also the $100,000. I'm not sure how that would help with our city infrastructure, being as how it's not a city street. So any wear and tear that goes on the street, it's not going to help us with that street.
It's actually a city street, but at this time, it's under contract to the to the county.
Okay.
That will expire in 5 more years.
Okay.
Yeah.
But what about the rest of the street? Because that one, I know that
Yes.
the county and city lines, they kind of go back and forth down
You're
through there.
You're absolutely right. It's part county and part city. The middle of it is city.
So then we throw that money at the potholes that go into it. Why are we not doing a hearing? I guess is my question.
Littlefield?
You'll do a hearing on the zoning matter. Zoning requires a public hearing, and that's next.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Others? Okay. If there are no questions, then we will move on to the next item, which is in fact a public hearing concerning that item. Hold a public hearing and consider a proposal to rezone from PUD Plan Unit Development District with a base zone of R6, single-family attached apartment residential district, to LI Light Industrial District with special conditions for 95.052 acres in land lot 169, District 1, Section 5, Parcel 4. Application by the City of Douglasville. Ms. Patrice Williams.
Okay, Patrice Williams, Community Development Director, 6701 Church Street. The item was originally heard by Mayor and Council in June of 2020 and voted on July 6, 2020. The items were recently referred from the City of Douglasville to the Planning Commission to be heard or to be reconsidered. The owner of the property is Tributary Atlanta ASLI 7 LLP, case number PRZ 20-0001. The request is for rezoning from PUD to LI with the base zone of R6 at this time. The proposed development is 2 warehouses. The site address is Riverside Parkway. It's approximately 95 acres. A traffic study has been completed, and at this time, I'm going to defer to Ted Meeker, our attorney.
Thank you, Ms. Williams.
Evening, Mayor, council members. Ted Meeker, 14 East Broad Street, Noonan, Georgia. I'm the assigned counsel to the city. I just wanted to read a quick statement into the record that the city and the applicant have stipulated that the documents and evidence presented at the June 2020 and July 2020 council meetings and work sessions are admitted into the record into this hearing tonight and are incorporated into the minutes of this meeting by express reference. The purpose of that, of course, is to save you all being inundated with paper during the course and having to duplicate what was done at those 2 meetings. Thank you very much.
Appreciate that. Okay, it being a public hearing, then we need to give time for both the applicant to speak. Please come forward with information concerning the application. We welcome you. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Robinson, Mr. Adams, members of the council. I'm Kathy Sickert with Smith, Gambrell, and Russell, and I represent IDI. We are here pursuant to a court-ordered remand. The way that you just phrased the statement is, I suppose, of course, one way to look at it. But there is another way as well, and that is presupposing that I do win this litigation, then there is nothing on the table for the benefit of the city at all. So we are of the opinion that by virtue of making some of the concessions that we have made, that in fact warrants an approval of our application, all of which would come off the table if it goes to court and the court sends it back. The money can be spent on any type of improvements for Riverside. You all are widening a bridge, I believe, on Riverside, if not as we speak, shortly. I know that that's funded in part by your funds, and it's also funded in part by the ARC, but that could be one of the places that this money is spent in the acquisition of additional right-of-way when the city does take back over the road, or in just regular road maintenance. So that is the extent of where the money could go, and it is beneficial to the city for those reasons. We would ask for your favorable consideration of this application, and I will reserve whatever remaining time I have for rebuttal.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Do we have anyone else that would speak on this application in favor of? Please come forward. Are there there any questions that council or Madam Mayor would have of the applicant? Okay, do we have anyone that would speak in opposition to? We would invite you to come forward, and our mayor has already given instructions as to speaking time, and we would be prepared to hear from anyone that would like to speak in opposition. Please come forward. Our city manager does tell us that we have someone on the phone that would like to speak, so I'll go to them and then see if there's anyone else that would come forward. Go ahead, Ms. Hampton.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. My name is Davin Auble. I live at 9930 Mancunian Way in Douglasville, 30135, which is part of the village area of the city. Please forgive me. Thank you very much for hearing me, Mr. Chair, Madam Mayor, all of you esteemed council persons, and forgive me for being very quick and very passionate. I am a profound believer in the vision for Douglasville. That is what's in here. That is what I brought here. And when I went to read the application, I feel it is so riddled with mischaracterization and errors. It's essentially that this is contempt. This is contempt for our beautiful city and the plans that we have for our beautiful city. And that my argument is primarily text-based, so I'll use my time to read as many of those as I may. In page 5 of the rezoning application, it's simply the adjacent zoning. It says not applicable to the north because Riverside Parkway is there. Well, there's something on the opposite side of Riverside Parkway, and with the exception of McMaster Park and part of Sweetwater Creek State Park, it is residential. It is existing residential, and it is new apartments under construction. I find that highly problematic. When it says there is light industrial to the west, that is not adjacent. Evidently, they're looking from the north and the west all the way to Fairburn Road. When I look at our zoning map to the west of this proposed parcel for IDL, I see a very large vacant property. I see the Red Cross office building. I see land reserved for a retirement community. I see a great deal of existing growth plans, and I see the largest elementary school in the Douglas County School System. That is the one I'm talking about. Then I'd like to go on to area on page 7 regarding the standards for approval. This is where it really feels that IBI and the council are absolutely contemptible of our intelligence and what we have written and planned and put into law for our city. Number 1, is the proposed amendment consistent with the purpose intent of the UDO? You defined, zoning ordinance and Article 1 introductory provisions. They say yes. I have read these provisions. It says that the purpose of this UDO is to promote the health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the public, and is intended to, among other things, protect and preserve residential neighborhoods, to improve the aesthetic appearance of the city, and to encourage the most appropriate use of land and buildings in accordance with the city's comprehensive plan. It also states in the interpretation and application of this UDO, all provisions shall be liberally construed in favor of the city. I would like to remind us of that. Number 2, on the rezoning application standards for approval, regards whether this is compatible with the purpose and intent of the most recent comprehensive plan, to which they again have proposed yes. Saying yes does not make it so. They say these properties to the north and west are already functioning as light industrial. No, they are not the adjacent properties. The future land use and narrative says that our current zoning for multi-use, the purpose is to encourage the best possible site plan under a unified plan of development. This is supposed to be in accordance with the character of the neighborhood in which the development is located. It is intended to encourage ingenuity and resourcefulness in land planning, to assure the provision of park and recreation land and facilities for use of the occupants of the development. This is not compatible. This rezoning is not compatible, and I implore us not to move forward with it. Next is zoning application. They once again repeat that there is a need for light industrial in the area. I beg you take time with the ARC plan, which says not say that. It acknowledges that it is happening, but it does not recommend it. It recommends against it. And finally, it says, is this going to promote public health, safety, and general welfare? There is vacant land north of Riverside Parkway along Vernon Road that would remain a great residential area. Clearly, that acknowledges on its face that they recognize putting this warehouse here is not going to make a great residential area. I am running out of time, and there are other citations I would like to make. I would hope that some of my neighbors and colleagues will reference the Chattahoochee River Walkland and other access that they ever see. I very thankfully appreciate your time.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate your comments. Anyone else, please come forward that would like to speak in opposition to this application.
Good evening, Philip Sisk, 9905 Hardwick Greenway, Douglasville. I am a resident of Tributary, and that was a good move not to have any offense there, because we can't rebut, but what we say she'll be able to rebut. So I'm going to talk about some of the things that they talked about in the planning board. First of all, Mr. Fowler said that the land had sat there for 15 years. Well, it had, because the original owners planned for that to be residential, and that's why it was zoned residential. And then, of course, it went back to the bank, and when the new owners bought it, they knew it was residential, and they didn't even market it. So certainly it has sat there, but not because they were trying to sell it, because they were holding it for residential development. Also, I'll say that IDI is an expert at building warehouses. They can make them beautiful. They can hide them from the road. We probably wouldn't even see it from Riverside Parkway with the way the lay of the land goes there. But what we would see is 720 trucks entering off of Riverside Parkway or back onto Riverside Parkway every single day. That's in addition to all the 18-wheelers that we have there now. So that is a...
You're fine. No, sir, you're fine, Mr. Sears. Go ahead.
I beg you to oppose this, because it will devastate Riverside Parkway. And it was kind of a threat there, $100,000 or take a chance on losing it. That's sort of what the attorney was saying. That was sort of like a threat.
Mr. Sears.
Yes, I'm sorry. Thank you. Appreciate your time.
You have time remaining. I would just request that you. Okay. Thank you, sir. Anyone else, please come forward. How are you this evening, sir? Good.
My name is Fielder Roberts, 3219 Blackley Old Road, Douglasville, Georgia, 30135. So just want to bring up a few points that were made in the planning discussion earlier in this week. The council at that point, or the planning committee, had asked IDI about the number of trucks and the vehicles that would get put on the road. And it equated out to be, based upon IDI's numbers, 680, 720 trucks per day, which amounts to one truck every 2 minutes, if it over a 24-hour period, going out on Riverside. When you look at the current housing volume and the residential volume that has been approved by City Council, that has already been entered in the record, you've got 651 homes within Tributary. You've got about 84 homes in Palmer Falls. You've got another 80-plus homes right next door to Tributary in our neighboring communities. Then you have AHS. You have another apartment complex that combined around 700 apartment homes that are going to in place right across from the Red Cross. Plus you also have Avonlea and a new apartment complex that is going to be coming before council pretty soon right there by Gordon Foods. That those as well combined upwards of 500 units. All said in total, you're looking at around, where'd my number go? when you look at number of cars in those units too, about 2,700 vehicles just from those communities. So you put that on the road plus a semi on the road every 2 minutes that's going to be pulling out right there on that curve on Riverside. That's not safe right there. Because that semi is not going to go from 0 to 50, 0 to 60 on that road very quickly. So you're going to have accidents. You're going to have issues there. Another item to look at from the comptroller study that I know has been talked about in the past, that was discussed before Congress, one truck equates out to be 9,600 vehicles in terms of damage and impact. Look at that from another standpoint. If they're going to put 680 trucks on the road per day, you need a calculator? You're looking at around 6.5 million worth of damage per year. So you guys do the math. Is it a good thing for the community, health, welfare? I don't believe so. So I'd ask you guys deny this. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Anyone else that would speak in opposition, please come forward.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. My name is Aaliyah Roberts. I reside at 3219 Blackley Old Road, Douglasville, Georgia, 30135 in the village and tributary. I've spoken before you countless times. It feels like deja vu that here we are again standing before you in opposition in our red, now in snazzy shirts, to emphasize our opposition to another warehouse on Riverside, more trucks, and actually not just one warehouse, 2 warehouses that combined make up 1 million square feet of warehouses that conveniently, by dividing them in half, they get to stay under the light industrial umbrella. And this council met multiple times this summer, and the residents came out in force to voice our opposition and emphasize that we don't want one more truck on the road, let alone 2 more trucks or every minute. And it just feels like here we are again fighting the same battle when the civic process had been followed this summer. We met, we voiced our opinion, they presented their case, and it was denied. And here we are again, and it feels like, for all of us residents, corporate bullying against the civic process that we have all come to follow. And this is not the Douglasville that I feel like we all should live in, and that I want to continue to be a part of and raise my family. And it's just, I find it appalling that here we are again against the face of corporate bullying. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else that would speak? Please come forward. Good evening, Mr. Siegel.
Richard Siegel, 9905 Ashford Greenway. COVID cases are spiking. It's even higher than it was in July. I don't want to be here. This is important. You know, we already have a concentration of light industrial distribution centers right here where this project is. You got Keehee, you got McMaster Car, and others. As you heard from from Ms. Williams, this whole area is mixed use, which theoretically opens it up to all sorts of things. But you have to have balance. We've already over-indexed on the light industrial, the warehouses. We're bringing in new residential. Residential is supposed to be supporting the retail. At AHS, they're now already leasing out the retail that's there, and as you know, they'll be building a new retail building there. At some point, you have to say, there's no more room for light industrial, no more room for the warehouses, and we've already reached that point. We've already gone past that point. The last 2 warehouses right across the street never should have been built there. But this has to stop. This is not what we want in our city. This is not what community means. This destroys community. It doesn't build community. It tears people apart, doesn't bring them together. So yes, the zoning says that in a PUD you have a mix. But there's also limits. The mix doesn't mean bring in more of one thing as often as possible. We don't want that. I know you don't want that. I know the attorneys say, well, we'll leave the attorneys out of it. But that's all I have to say. I'm going to reserve the rest of my time for others who wish to speak. Thank you very much. Have a happy holidays.
Thank you, Mr. Siegel. Anyone else?
Good
Madam
evening.
Mayor, Chair, Jason Brister, 6201 Douglas Manor Court, Douglasville. I'll reiterate a couple of points I made. I sat in on the zoning meeting the other night, and I scanned through. I don't have a lot of time to dedicate to this, but I scanned through.
Mr. Brister.
Yep. Thank you.
Come a little closer to the mic for us.
All right, thank you. I scanned through the application they had, and anyway, just wanted to make a couple of points. So I'm not vested in this project like some of the neighbors are. I work in the area. I work on the other side of the river, take Camp Creek, Thornton Road, work on in Fulton Industrial. So I live with the traffic at the intersection at either end of Riverside. And I had actually never, in 15 years, I'd never driven Riverside until I started working there 2 years ago. But anyway, so now I work there, and pre-pandemic, the traffic was horrible at either end of Riverside, at Thornton Road and at 92. And just to reinforce that point, trucks, as they travel east on Riverside and they want to turn right onto Thornton Road heading toward the airport, they can't even make that right turn. There's no infrastructure for truck traffic to begin with. It's a crying shame that the warehouses are on Riverside already. They shouldn't be there in the first place. If they want to put one, on the corner next to Thornton Road, that's fine. But, is Riverside Drive an industrial corridor? Is that what y'all want it to be? I don't think it is. It's a 2-lane, narrow, winding road, not suitable for truck traffic to begin with, much less a warehouse district. So I think that's the short-term concern, is the traffic is already bad. And looking through the report, they go through the motions, write up a big traffic study, incremental this, incremental that, not too bad. Well, by the time you build 4 more warehouses 3 years from now, well, you incrementaled yourself to death. And then we're sitting here stuck in traffic saying, how did we get here? Well, you incrementaled yourself to death. It wasn't too bad, approve this, approve that. Well, then you get in a real mess because you didn't think of the big picture. And on the big picture note, what I'd like to say is Douglas County, we have riverside property there. That should be a greenway. You've got Sweetwater Creek on one side. You got the boundary waters to the south. You got, neighborhoods, tributary, all this sort of thing. That's valuable property that should be used for the appropriate use. And on the note of, in the report, one of the takeaways was it said that the recommendation was approve it because it promotes live, work, play. That's not live. Nobody wants to live next to a warehouse. If you want to look across the river to Fulton Industrial, it's wall-to-wall warehouses for miles on end. There's no live, work, play over there. Nobody wants to live within 10 miles of that crap. I work there. As soon as I get off work, guess what? I get out of there. There's nothing going on. There's no live, work, play on Fulton Industrial. It's already there. It's already warehouse wall-to-wall. Nobody wants to be around any of that. And also, they want to, we can hide it behind, we can put up, landscaping and hide it in the trees. That tells you right there, it's not quality development. It's, tilt wall, cheap warehouses. That's not quality development. We don't need that in Douglas County. We got enough already. We need to get away from that and get better quality development. So, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chairman, we have about a minute and a half left.
Anyone that would like to speak, please come forward. Thank you.
Good evening. Tavares Jones, 3211 Anco Street. I'm here today to urge and request that you guys deny this application. I drive down Riverside Parkway to go to work. There's not a day that goes by that a truck does not pull out in front of me. There's a rut when you turn, like he said, when you turn on the Thornton Road, there's a rut in the road that they have to come and fill up every week, because if you don't, then somebody's car is going to go down in there and they can't get it out. I first moved to Douglasville 2007. I moved to Tributary in 2018. No, 2019. I moved back from Portland. Had I known that this was an issue, I wouldn't have bought a home on Riverside Parkway. I tell people all the time, hey, come to the neighborhood, come to the neighborhood. I thought this was over. There's no way that I can, in good conscience, recommend my friends move to this area when I know that warehouses are coming up and down Riverside Parkway and their home values are going to go down. Because, like he said, you don't want to live on Fulton Industrial. I don't want to live on Fulton Industrial. There's no reason why we should have trucks up and down that road every day. Like I said, it's dangerous. If you go down there at 2 o'clock in the morning, there's 20 trucks in front of Key. It's going to continue to get that bad. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, Madam Clerk, have we used up the time then for public comment?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm assuming the applicant had something that they would like to say in rebuttal. Please come forward.
And I'll be equally brief in rebuttal. Let me note, first of all, that the findings that our first speaker took issue with were not mine, were not IDI's, but were of your professional planning staff. So the city's position is what she is basically arguing about, not something that we presented. It was something that the city found. Second, ultimately, the vast majority of these concerns come down to truck traffic. And let me first point out to you that it is 680, 720, whatever the number is, that's vehicle trips. That means one trip in and one trip out. So the actual traffic volume is half of that. And that's how it is counted for traffic analysis. However, that said, let me remind you that, again, this is not our conclusion. We were told to do a traffic study by the Georgia Regional Transportation Association. We did it according to their directions. We then were subject to review by not just Greta, but by the ARC, and then by your staff. And Greta reviewed the traffic information that was submitted and found that there was no reason whatsoever to deny this application, which is part of the reason I suspect I'm back here tonight. I wouldn't presume to lecture you in the law at all, but every development causes an increase in traffic. It's inevitable. I mean, if you're going from vacant land to even one house, there's an increase in traffic. And for that reason, the Georgia Supreme Court has told us long ago, back in the 70s, over a case stemming out of the Atlanta Merchandise Mart, that a mere increase in traffic is not a valid basis to deny a zoning. If the past 6 weeks have taught us nothing, it is that when emotion conflicts with law, it's very, very difficult to understand, and it's often something that people do not want to believe or do not want to understand. But we do have laws, and sometimes the laws trump the emotion. And regrettably, that is the circumstance in which I believe the city finds itself here. You have obviously competent attorneys, one of whom's been with you for 40 years, one of whom has been with you for a little bit less, and then you got Ted, but that's another story. So you have these people to offer you advice and to guide you during this process, and I urge you to take that advice. Don't take it from me, take it from your own attorneys. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Any other comment? I'm about to close the public hearing. Are there questions or comments that Madam Mayor or our council might have? Yes, Madam Mayor.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to just make a kind of a brief statement to the community to let the community know that we are listening, and we do take that into consideration, everything that's been brought to the forefront now and what was previously said in June and July, as well as the property owner. We do understand that there are property rights as well, and we were remanded to do this again. The council already made their decisions, but the court, as was described by the attorney here, justice is supposed to be blind and not peeking through the blindfold, so they're taking the merit of the case based on the law, and the city has to adhere to the law as well. So we, of course, don't just look at everything as a zoning issue or black and white. We take all those things into consideration. So again, the council will make the determination and vote on this matter, but we did have a comprehensive look at the tributary and all 2,340 acres in our committee meeting to see the ratio of what was built, residential, commercial, all of retail, and all the things that are proposed, to see the balance. And so just to let you know that it is a very serious issue. It's a serious matter. We're not taking this frivolously, and we are being very compassionate and trying to make the best decision that we can based on the information that we have, and that we have to be respectful of the law and of the judicial system. And when they remand something back to us, we have to reconsider it. If we didn't have to do that, we wouldn't be here. So thank you again for everyone that's given their comments. We know that you care about the community, and we care as well. That's why we serve. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The applicant's counsel makes an admirable argument about the law. Yes, that as the mayor reiterated, we do have to follow the law, as everybody does, because the law is the law. But we're not lawyers up here. We're politicians, for better or for worse, I guess. There are worse dirty words, I guess, out there, but our decisions are political. We have to follow the law within that context, within that realm. But part of our charge is also to look at the quality of life in the city. Now, is there a law that says you follow, that defines what quality of life is? No. You can't apply the law to quality of life other than basic safety standards, I suspect. That's about all. So our consideration has to take into account the quality of life of the residents of the city. We answer to the citizens, the residents of the city. We'd like to think that we also take into interest of applicants and businesses, developers, and so forth. But we have to find a balance between the two of those. Where that balance lies, once again, is not easily definable. And so I appreciate the argument when somebody says, well, the law is the law, and this is the way it is. Laws evolve. Interpretations evolve over time. We know that. We see that every day in the Supreme Court. So I just want to make clear that, as best I can, that we have a lot to take into consideration in this, and it's not a simple decision. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Other comments? Anyone? Yes, Coach.
I'm not a politician. I'm a retired teacher who just happened to run for city council because I wanted to serve. So I don't see myself that way. I don't look at some of the decisions that we make that way. And I do not like the implication of money making our decision for us, whatever was agreed on. To me, that had nothing to do with this. And I think a lot of y'all have kept up and know what's been talked about tonight. And, sometimes we're going to have to relook at things that we've already looked at once and made a decision about. And, we've still got another public hearing to go. And, but I'll take issue with anybody that says that our vote can be bought, at least mine. Thank you.
Thank you, Coach Watts. Any other comment? Okay, and we will close that portion of the public hearing, and if there is nothing else to discuss tonight on that, we will take up this issue on Monday. Appreciate your attendance, appreciate everyone's professionalism. We look forward to that on Monday. We'll move on to item E, hold a public hearing and consider a request for a special land use permit for an event center for property zoned NC Neighborhood Commercial District, being 0.56 acres at 8709 Hospital Drive, land lot 50, District 1, Section 5, Parcel 105. Application by Kimberly Melson. Ms. Williams?
Right. Patrice Williams, Community Development Director, 6701 Church Street. The applicant is Ms. Kimberly Melson. Owner of the property is Adam J. Jett. Case number P/20-0010. The request is for a special land use permit for an event center for property zone neighborhood commercial district. This slub is a renewal. You've already approved it previously. The site address is 8709 Hospital Drive, approximately 5.56 acres. Section 12.08D of the UDO provides factors for granting a special land use permit for the city of Douglasville. If approved, staff recommends every rental event shall terminate no later than midnight. And we do have the applicant with us tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. Would the applicant come forward with any comment or question or any information that you'd like to provide?
Good evening.
Name and address for the record.
Kimberly, let me take my mask off.
Thank you.
Kimberly Melson, 8709 Hospital Drive, Douglasville, Georgia.
Thank you, Ms. Melson. You're here for a renewal.
Yes, sir.
You have had the special land use permit, I understand, for a year.
Yes.
It's time to renew that.
Yes.
And is there any information you'd like to share with us concerning your business? I know in the face of the pandemic that we've been going through, I've been curious how you were making it as I travel back and forth by there many times in a week.
It was hard. It was difficult. Opening a venue and being shut down immediately. I was very discouraged, but I got through it, and I've managed to be booked this entire year when I open back up, and I'm pretty much booked half of next year. And I'm following all COVID guidelines. I have the warning signs outside of the building. I have like a wall thermometer. I've dropped my guest count, and most of my events are under 100 people. Weddings have become more smaller and intimate, which is what I prefer. In fact, I think I'm going to keep my guest count at 100 or less. People have plenty of space to social distance, and we require that you wear a mask. Of course, not during eating, but no one has reported any COVID cases to me. So far, so good. But it was devastating being an event space, but everything has been going pretty smoothly. We've been following all of our guidelines and rules, haven't had any disturbances, code enforcement, any of that. Parking is excellent. That's pretty much it.
Thank you, Ms. Melson.
You're
Are there
welcome.
any questions, Council, Madam Mayor? Yes, Madam Mayor.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. You've already answered the question, Ms. Melson, and Mr. Chair talked to you. So I do see the Kimberlite sign, and I've had some of my friends who have had events there and said that the customer service was excellent and everything was really good. One of my sorority sisters. So at any rate, maybe next time if you go through this slub, provide some pictures. The pictures were very nice that I saw from Tracy Crook's event. But if you have some, I know we don't.
I do have some.
Okay, they aren't. I don't see them. On
I
here.
provided a PowerPoint, and then.
Oh, okay, because I don't see the
I
pictures.
provided a PowerPoint with the before and after pic. Are you gonna put it up there? Okay.
Okay, let me see.
It's
I'm
before
on-
and after pictures of. Oh, you put my video up. Thank you.
3, 4, 5. All right, boom shakalaka. It's beautiful. So thank you so much for doing that. I am particularly interested in this facility because when I first moved here 25 years ago, I used to coach when it was a gymnastics studio. So it looks really good, and I'm glad. I didn't see all these. 73. That's why it was just 73 on this presentation, and I had just gotten in the 20s.
Oh,
So,
okay. Are
thank
you
you so
speaking of my
much for
PowerPoint presentation?
I see it now.
Oh, okay,
Yes,
good,
ma'am.
good.
And
I
the
put
one
the
that was just
renovation.
shown, and I was just saying, as we were loading our information, it hadn't come up, and I was in the 20s and didn't realize. But these
Oh,
are
okay.
This is all the way in 40 and 30 some where the pictures were provided.
Yes.
So thank you for that, and I apologize, Mr. Chairman, for not seeing that. But it was good to get a breather and look at the video. Thank you.
Other questions for our applicant?
Just have a comment.
Yes,
Chairman.
go ahead,
Thank
Dr.
you. I just wanted to say that it's really inspiring to know that you didn't give up. Just looking at your application and remembering last year, right after the pandemic. So just to hear that you're still passionate, you were very passionate the first time that you were talking about your event at the center and how you wanted to get everything going. So it's really nice. Just a question, were you able to take advantage of any of the PPE through the CARES Act? But you knew that was out there, did you?
They declined me several times, so
Okay.
It's okay.
Done well. Hopefully the second time around.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be the second time around.
Yeah, or maybe.
Hopefully they'll,
Yeah.
help me out.
Yeah, and then definitely make sure that you make contact with our development authority. There were other small businesses that had been denied, but and through the chamber there was a grant application. So stay very abreast about what may be going on that you may not know just through our website. But the pictures are lovely, and good blessings to you. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem had a comment, and then also Mr. Davis.
I'm just going to say I'm impressed. Do you have a background in interior design?
Yes.
Okay.
The reason I opened the event space was because I was an event planner for about 6 years. It is so stressful and so tiresome, like decorating other people's spaces, and I would spend all of my clients' money to make it look pretty. So years ago, my mom said she wanted to own an event space, and I said, well, Mom, just hire me to decorate. So eventually she got over it. It wasn't her calling. So I said, you know what? I want my own space, blank canvas where I can decorate how I want to and have my own clients come to my space. And that's the reason I wanted an event space. And that's become a business, of course, because I have others that come in and rent the space and not use me as an event planner. But most of my clients use me as an event planner. So I really enjoy decorating. It just brings me so much joy.
I'm impressed. You really did take a blank slate. You took an old warehouse and.
Yes, I don't know. You know what? I know I look nice, but my contractors, I told them, look, I have to have this done in 45 days. And I stayed on them. That floor was the most important thing to me. You have to do the floors right. And the drapery and the chandelier was it was a lot. It was very stressful, and I still work a full-time job as well. I work for Norfolk Southern Railroad. So it was very difficult, but it came true. And I was like, oh, yeah, you did it. But the contractors and I are real cool, though,
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Davis.
Moving right along. Hello, Kimberly.
Hi.
I've watched Kimberly do a lot of that work, and I wasn't able to help her. But thanks again, Kimberly. And do she have to come back every year?
We're going to address that.
Okay. So she won't be so scared when she see me. All right. Thank you, Kim.
Anyone else? Any other mayor, council? Yes, Madam Mayor.
Yeah, so this is going to be very quick. And just from Ms. Kimberly, as to elaborate on what Dr. Danley has said, council member, we did have a small business grant awarded $250,000 to businesses, small businesses within the city and the county. It was the City of Douglasville, the Chamber of Commerce, Economic Development Authority, Switch, and Google. And so there was an application process, and just connect with the Chamber of Commerce.
Yes.
Sarah Ray is the executive director, to see if we're going to have a second round of resources, and those were to help the small businesses in the community from COVID-19. So if we have another round and we collaborate again and bring those resources together, you can apply and have be in runnings to have one of those grants. So it is not a loan; it's an actual grant,
which
to
is
help
much
small
better.
businesses.
Thank you. I sure will look into that.
Thank you.
Okay, we need to open the floor to see if there might be anyone, since this is a public hearing. Is there anyone here that would speak either for or against this application for renewal of a special land use permit? Anyone here? Okay, seeing none, we'll close that portion of the public hearing. And just as a matter of passing, Mr. Sam Davis, our councilman, had mentioned, would this be a yearly thing continuing? Normally what we like to do, and if it is the pleasure of the council when we vote on this on Monday, we have been allowing it then to run, since there have been no issues, it appears, and I think our PD department would speak up if I called upon them to ask that, and I guess I could ask that at this time. Are there any issues that you know about, sir?
No issue, sir.
Thank you. Just wanted to hear that and have that on the record. Normally, we would allow that special land use permit to run with the lease, so it would end then at the time of the lease, as long as then that tenant is there in that same location, would be my hope as we go forward with this on Monday. So I'll close the public hearing. Any other comment or question? If not, we'll be here on Monday to vote on that, and hopefully you won't have to be afraid. I'm sorry that you feel that way. Ms. Belson, I hope that
you guys have our lives in your hands.
We'll take care of that on Monday. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Next item F, consider approval of an application for temporary business registration for personal services, tattoo and body piercing only for James Vinson at 6700 Douglas Boulevard, pending approval of his application for special land use permit for this use. Ms. Williams, did you need to give us any other information on that? Please bring us up to date, to the moment.
Well, as Ms. Littlefield said at the 5 o'clock meeting, this individual needs a little bit more time to process. We need more time to process the special land use permit for the tattoo shop, but the application is complete, and so we're just asking you all to support a temporary business license for 90 days.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. I think I've been on the council. This is my 9th year, and I don't recall us doing this, so it's not something that we do very often. Is that correct?
3 times, Ms. Littlefield said.
3 times. Now, Ms. Littlefield's been around a little longer than I have, so she's spreading that over probably 25 years, right, Ms. Littlefield? Okay. Questions, comments? I know we had extensive discussion about it in our 5 o'clock committee's meeting. Is there any concern or question about the item? Yes, Madam Mayor.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. And just not a question, but a comment for the viewing audience who may not have been here for committee meetings that Ms. Williams is bringing forward to us. This business is actually located in Arbor Place Mall, and it is someone who moved from another state who has businesses in North Carolina, Dallas, and so they were not aware that they needed to go through the permitting process. They thought if they were able to rent the space from the mall that everything was covered, but they have to go through permitting with the city, and that's why we're giving them a 90-day extension to help them get their permitting together with the city, in addition to having the rental space at the mall. And they also would have to adhere to the state requirements under health. Councilmember Danley and I were talking about, with microblading and tattooing with eyeliner and all of that. So they would have to have those requirements as well.
That's
so
correct.
just bringing clarity to the issue. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay.
And Councilman Adams, the applicant is on the phone.
Yes, thank you. We're about to get to that. We're ready to hear from the applicant. Please give us your name and address for the record, and we'd love to hear your comments.
I think James just sent me a message and said his volume went out, but he is on as well. Basically, we do have several tattoo shops, and the majority of them are in the mall. We do have an artist located in North Carolina who desired to move back to Douglasville, Georgia, to be closer to his family, especially during this COVID season. We were financially responsible enough to be able to make that happen. However, there have been some delays in our application process due to COVID, which are understandably welcome, and we understand all that, but we want to get this 90-day temporary permit in place so that we can go ahead and have that shop fully open and operational without losing additional funds to make this happen.
Thank you. Appreciate that, ma'am. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, ma'am. Anyone else? Okay, and we will take this up on Monday and move on to item G. Hold a public hearing and consider a request for a change in zoning from PRD Planned Residential Development District in the Quality Growth Development Overlay to amend the special stipulations of zoning to the PRD Planned Site Plan to relocate the parking, buildings, and pool to address environmental constraints for 38.78 acres on Riverside Parkway and Summer Lake Road in land lot 176, District 1, Section 5, Parcel 1. Application by LMC Lennar Multifamily Communities. Ms. Patrice Williams.
Patrice Williams, Community Development Director, 6701 Church Street. This item, as a matter of fact, you've seen this before. There were some issues, environmental, as the agenda item reads itself. There's a stream, and so we had to move some things, and because the site plan was approved, they have to come back through the development process. And so with that being said, I'm just going to go ahead and defer to the applicant.
Yes, please come forward. The representative of the applicant, please come forward. Give us your name and address for the record, and you know the drill.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, council members. Julie Sellers, 1776 Peachtree Street in Atlanta, Georgia, here on behalf of the applicant, LMC. And as Ms. Williams stated, I've got copies here, but I think it's in your agenda packet. This property was zoned in April for PRD with a site plan, and unfortunately the site plan that was originally approved did not take into consideration the fact that there's a stream located on the property. So if you, in the packet, you can see the original site plan showed buildings built on top of the stream, which of course could not, and we would not want that to happen. So we are here asking for the site plan that you see here to be switched out, basically switched out for a site plan that's not workable. I'm happy to answer any questions. The density stays the same, the conditions stay the same, everything else stays the same except for the site plan. We also have the development plan application, but I guess we'll get to that next, or, okay.
Yes, ma'am, that'd be another item.
Right.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Sellers. Are there questions that Madam Mayor or council members may have of the applicant? Yes, Madam Mayor.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Sellers, with having had to make those adjustments, do you all have to adhere to any requirements from WSA, the Water and Sewer Authority for Douglas County?
I don't think that the changes here have triggered any different issues as far as WSA. We definitely had to respect the stream buffers and move the building so that we're not impeding on the buffers, which the original site plan did not reflect.
Okay, so you did. So you adhered to their requirements of having the buffers and how many.
I'm sorry. Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so that was my concern, is
I'm
to protect the water.
Yes, the plan that you see before you does comply with all the buffers. We're not asking for any variances or anything. We're respecting all of the buffers that are in place, and that was the primary driver between the original plan and this plan.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes. So basically, Ms. Sellers, the applicant has gone back and has redesigned the site plan, but what about the facades, the unit height, and the number of units? Are all of those the same?
That is correct,
Okay.
Mr. Adams. In the original, the April zoning that was approved, the residential density was limited to 11 units per acre. Same thing, that we're not asking to change that at all. And then the other condition was the apartment structure should utilize a 3-4 split where the on-site topography permits, and we are still keeping with that. So conditions, we would literally just ask to switch out this plan for that plan.
Okay. So basically, same developer, same overall plan, except for the site plan has changed because of state waters coming onto the site that were not originally located.
The original zoning, I wasn't involved in the original zoning, but my understanding is the zoning was on behalf of the property owner. LMC was not the applicant with this original plan.
Point of clarity. Thank you. Thank you. Questions, comments? We need to give time for anyone that would speak either for or against this item. It being a public hearing, I'll open the floor for that. If there's anyone else that would like to speak for or against this item, please come forward. You've heard from Ms. Williams concerning this item and from the applicant. I don't see anyone jumping up to come to the mic. Don't understand. They shouldn't be afraid. We've done this so many times. Okay, I'll close that portion of the public hearing. Then if there are no other comments or questions, we will take this up on Monday as to a vote for change of the site plan. We'll move on then to item H. Consider a request for approval of a development plan for the preserve for 38.78 acres at Riverside Parkway, Summer Lake, located land lot 176, District 1, Section 5, Parcel 1, application by LMC Lennar Multifamily Communities. Ms. Williams?
Patrice Williams, Community Development Director, 6701 Church Street. The previous item was to change the stipulations for the zoning. This item is to approve the development plan. So because we had to make changes for the zoning, we have to make changes to the development plan. So the proposed project is a multifamily apartment development. The zoning ordinance specifies residential density limited to 11 units, as Ms. Sellers said earlier, and the apartment utilizes a 3-4 split. So it's much of the same, but there were a few changes enough to make us have to go back through this process.
But I will ask the question just to make sure that we're on record that all of the requirements of the development plan have been reviewed and approved and are approvable as far as staff is concerned.
Correct.
Okay. Questions, comments? Madam Mayor, City Council, anyone? All right. Then we will take that up on Monday. We thank you all for coming, and we'll consider that on Monday. One last item. Consider request for final plat approval for the purpose of subdividing into 91 lots, 40.59 acres at Chicago Avenue, land lot 224, District 2, Section 5, Parcel 2 and 15. Application by Addison Blakesley, Pristine Land Services, LLC. Ms. Williams?
Patrice Williams, Community Development Director, 6701 Church Street, case number PPR 20-0029. The applicant is requesting final plat approval for the purpose of subdividing into 91 lots, 40.59 acres for Chicago Park Phase 4. The property is located off Brook Bend Drive and Creeksong Drive, approximately 40 acres again. The proposed final plat does meet the requirements of the UDO. We do have the applicant with us tonight.
Okay, is there anything the applicant would like to say or on the phone? If the applicant has some information they'd like to provide, we welcome you to do that at this time. Please give us your name and address for the record. Anyone there?
You hear me?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Sorry, I was on mute. My name is Kenneth Addison Blakesley, address 4131 Bolingbrook Drive, Marietta, Georgia.
How are you this evening, sir?
Good, how are y'all?
We're great. Do you have any information you would like to provide in addition to what staff has provided here tonight?
No, sir.
Okay. We thank you for being with us by phone. Any questions that Mayor or Council may have of the applicant? Yes, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm looking at the plat that's been submitted. Is there no possibility for a second entrance into that subdivision? I see it looks like it's all cul-de-sacs.
There is actually 2 entrances. It's coming off of an existing subdivision already, so there is an entrance off of, let's see here, Creeksong Drive and Brook Bend Drive. So you can actually access this phase from 2 different roads.
Once you get, unless I'm misinterpreting this, once you get past that point, then it's all dead end, is it not?
Yes. There's no actual way to access it from the backside of the subdivision.
What about the possibility? I mean, you've got this thing coming in, and it's basically you turn it into a horseshoe at the end. And again, once again, I mean, I'm sound like a broken record. I'm going to point it out every single time. We're trying to avoid cul-de-sacs as much as we can in the community. At least, I'm not speaking for everyone necessarily. Some of us are trying to encourage the development plans that don't include cul-de-sacs, and it seems like you do have an opportunity, the way you at the horseshoe at least, to connect that back around and make a circle out of it so that you don't have these dead ends. It's something I would impress upon you to consider as a possibility.
Based on the terrain and stuff like that out there, I don't think it's a real viable option. I don't know if you've driven or familiar with the neighborhood.
Not yet. I don't see a topographic map here, so that we don't have any way of judging if that's, is there a hill there that you're saying?
Very hilly.
Existing stuff that's built around it, I don't think it's a viable option.
Anything else, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem?
That's all. Thank you.
Yes, Madam Mayor.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. It is it is very hilly. But Mr. Blakely, I was going to ask about the detention pond. It is a substantial detention pond in the area. Has that been addressed? I see it is probably near lots 145 and 144.
Yes, ma'am. I see the pond you're talking about. What's your question about it?
Have you addressed that with WSA? I know it's just pretty large. I mean, a substantial detention pond there.
We're still in the phase of review with the as-built.
Okay.
So we are currently reviewing it. So if they have any comments, I'm sure we'll have to address them and come to some terms with them about it.
Okay. I was just concerned because it was a final plat, trying to see, for that area. But I'm sure they'll bring all those issues to the forefront. Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Any other comment, question of the applicant?
Question.
Yes,
in regards
Mr.
to what the mayor just mentioned, would the WSA would not have addressed that before this time, since this is the final plat?
From what I understand, with the city of Douglasville and WSA, they're two different entities, so their time frames are a little bit different. So it's kind of, just got to work with them and kind of play with their time frames. And they're, like I said, they're currently in review. So any comments they have, we will address and go from there.
I understand, Ms. Danley, even if you had a final plat approval, it would be my understanding that until you have satisfied the comments of the WSA, you would not be issued any water meters or sewer taps.
Right.
So it would be a moot point if you had the approval, if you had not satisfied them. It's just a matter of timing the way it sounds.
Well, I'm excited about the project. It's been sitting for a while, but that detention pond is
it's just
huge.
it's very significant. If you haven't been in the area, and it's horrible actually. But,
And actually, this is the final phase. Is that correct, Mr. Blakely?
We actually had to split this phase up because we had an issue coming down off of, see if I can tell you the right road name. I'm looking at the final plat right now. The first cul-de-sac road comes, let's see here, Brook Bend Drive. We actually had to separate that out to a future phase because we had actually hit some rock out there. We're having some issues with sewer and storm. So there is going to be another phase coming that's going to be, I believe, 12 miles.
Okay. But this phase is, I guess I would say, this phase would be controlled by the fact that there were already streets present, and there were already, it appears, of course, for previous phases, there were already retention ponds, there was already topo, there were already sewer installed, and now you're working to that existing as you do another phase within that development.
Yes, sir. This is basically what we would call a pipe farm subdivision. Once the economy crashed back in 2008, it had been sitting there. All the pipe and sewer was basically in. It was filled with silt, so we had to come in there and kind of clean everything up and go from there. The roads were basically in. They were paved, but it was pretty much a finished subdivision that had been sitting there for a very long time.
I understand. Okay. Any other question or comment?
Just my last comment is definitely want to see the project successful, but also just comments from current residents about the front end of the subdivision going in and the water that sits off to the left. Just want to make sure that the project is successful.
Absolutely. I think we all do. And even, the developer is they are rental homes, so that the developers can be maintaining this property. I think they want to see it be a success and enjoy everybody in the community. And like I said, they'll be maintaining it, so they don't want to turn out a bad product by any means.
Does that answer your question, Ms. Danley? Okay. Okay. Any other comment? Thank you for joining us, Mr. Blakesley. We will take this up on Monday night for a vote. We appreciate it.
Y'all have a good night.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you, too.
Madam Mayor, that's all that we have tonight under Planning and Development. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We'll move on to Public Improvement and Beautification Committee. That's chaired by Councilmember Nicole Miller.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have no business this evening.
Thank you. Public Relations Committee, that's chaired by Councilmember Mr. Estes, and he isn't here, so I believe the Vice Chair is Mayor Pro Tem Miller. It isn't? Public Relations. Is Councilmember Adams? Nope.
Davis?
Oh, it's Councilmember Davis. I apologize. I'm looking at all these Ps.
No, I'm this time, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
You're welcome, Councilman Davis. So Public Safety is your committee. Councilmember Samuel Davis.
Yes, ma'am. I have several items.
Okay.
Item 8, hold a public hearing to consider a request for a change in agent, outlet manager, and a transfer of alcoholic beverage license for the retail package sale of wine and malt beverage and spirits liquor at the following establishment. Current licensee, Arbor Place Beverage Depot, INC, DBA. Arbor Place Beverage Depot, proposed licensee, Arbor Business LLC, location 7455 Douglas Boulevard. Current agent outlet manager, Kim He Sun. Proposed agent outlet manager, Keishan Ras Patel. Excuse me if I mispronounced it. The required fees has been paid into the finance department. But applicant, please come down. How are you, sir?
Thank you. Good evening, Madam Mayor and City Council members. I'm Keishan Patel. My address is 1412 Rundle Court, Smyrna, Georgia, 30082. I would like for the City Council to consider the change in the agent outlet manager going from Kim Hun Si to me, Keishan Patel, and also a transfer of the alcoholic beverage license from Arbor Place Beverage Depot to Arbor Business LLC.
Mayor and Council.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Just a quick question about,
Yes.
do you have any experience in doing this before? I'm not saying do you have a baby face. So I'm sure you don't have to license yourself, but just if you can give us some.
I've worked at H&M Convenience, my parents' business in Savannah, Georgia, from I believe it was September of 2018 to about August of 2020.
Okay.
And so I have 2 years of working in retail package, but this was like a business opportunity that was opened, and I decided to take it.
Yes, sir. And how do you all check for ID and all of that? Can you give me those requirements or your procedure?
Yeah, we will be checking everybody's ID who enters the premises.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any other council member? I have a question. Are you going to be the new outlet manager, or who's going to be the new manager?
It will be me, sir.
It'll be you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And who is this gentleman you have with you?
This is my lawyer, Thomas Choi.
Good evening. My name is Thomas Choi at 5164 Beaufort Highway, Doraville, Georgia, 30040. And as you see, my client, Mr. Patel, is young. However, his parents had run liquor store over 12 years in Savannah.
Okay.
And they just sold their business. They are taking some time off.
Yes.
And this business opportunity came up. And his parents gave him a chunk of money to invest. And they will be coming to the store almost every day and look over the management, and will provide advice and consultation to make sure that Mr. Patel, Keishan, will run the store properly. And this is a big investment for anybody.
Yes, sir.
And he will make sure that business will run correctly. And as he said, he took a course to make sure that he will not violate any alcohol ordinances. He took what's the course?
The course is Georgia Alcohol Seller Server course.
And he will make sure that his employees will take all those courses, and no one under 21 will be able to purchase alcohol from this location. And he is planning to hire some more people from locally. So he will be contributing a good business person to the community. So it will be a good partnership with the city. So we ask city to consider his application, and we hope favorable consideration from the city.
Thank you so much.
We will entertain any question if you have.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for that comprehensive explanation. It really does help us to see that there is a plan with support. Everyone has to start somewhere. We're not despising him of his youth. He does have some experience, but it's good to know that he does have support and legacy from his parents to help him, and that he has had some experience in this type of business. So thank you so much for that. We appreciate that.
And at this time, sir, we're gonna have to hold a public hearing. And what happened is, if anyone can find fault on your application, don't want him to have it, they can come down and speak. You got 5 minutes. So if anyone that wants to speak against this application, you got 5 minutes to come down. Okay, since I see no takers, anyone that want to speak with this application, come on down. So it look like we don't have no takers. And if you come back on Monday, and I thank you, young man. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Have a good night.
Okay. Moving right along, item B. Hold a public hearing to consider a request for a change in agent outlet manager for the consumption of on premises of wine and malt beverage and spiritual liquor licensing, Rare Hospitality International, INC, DBA, Longhorn Steakhouse, number 5011, location 8471 Hospital Drive. Current agent outlet manager, Robert Reese. Proposed agent outlet manager, Joey Telefesi. The required fees have been paid into the finance department. So would the applicant please come down, and good to see you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you for being here. My name is Joey Tefelsky at 3735 Brook Hollow Drive, Douglasville. And I'm looking to get our alcohol license changed from Brian Reese to myself.
Okay, good. So how long you been with the company?
I've been with Longhorn Steakhouse for 9 years.
Oh, okay. So you well experienced on alcohol.
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Madam Mayor?
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. It's good to see you, Mr. Tefelsky. We thank you so much for everything that you do in the community and how you all have pivoted and been adjusting and being flexible to the concerns for COVID. I personally thank you. You know, we have several restaurants that called and didn't want to shut down, and you know, and of course we understand that because you don't want to lose business, but you, when I talked to you, you said we'll just do whatever we need to do to keep everyone safe and to keep having opportunity for employment to help people and their families in our business. So thank you for doing that. And just it's good to see you, and thank you for the delicious food at Longhorns. I know my husband had a huge order today at Pepsi, and he said he went in to talk to you, and you said we can provide it. And it was, I don't even know, 500 people or something, but thank you so much for what you do in the community and for being a great partner to the city. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Anyone else in the council? Okay, now, at this time, we got to hold a public hearing, the same as the other client. And if we got anyone that see fit where you shouldn't have a license, they come on down right now. They got 5 minutes. Since there's no takers, so good as those steaks is, you won't have no takers. So, thank you, and come back on. We're going to close the public hearing. Come back on Monday.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Okay, item C, hold a public hearing to consider request for the change in an agent outlet manager, and a transfer of alcoholic beverage license for the retail package sale of wine and malt beverage at the following establishment. Current licensing NR Enterprise Inc. Proposed licensing Wayne Business LLC, DBA Global Food Mart. Location 12241 Veteran Memorial Highway. Current agent outlet manager Razia Dosia. Proposed agent outlet manager Aran Hader. The required fees have been paid into the finance department. Your name and
good evening.
Address for the record.
My name is Imran Haider, address 1193 Mill Ridge Drive, Lawrenceville, Georgia 30046.
So will you be the agent outlet
Yes, I am.
manager? And you live here in Lawrenceville?
No, I live in Lawrenceville, but we have just purchased this business which is right down the corner, and I will be the owner, operator, and the manager for this business.
You have a manager?
No, I will be the manager.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So you know all the procedures?
Yes,
how
I
long
do.
You been how long you been in business?
I have been working under a different ownership for the last 6 years, so I'm very well aware of all the ordinances and rules and regulation of selling alcoholic beverages.
And what would be the hours of operation?
Right now it is from 5 in the morning till midnight.
Okay.
Yes.
Madam Mayor, Council?
I don't have anything.
Okay.
Mr.
Yes.
Davis, just a question for the applicant. Mr. Hader,
Yes, sir.
where is the Global Food Mart actually located on Veterans Memorial? Where is the business located?
It is actually right on the corner of Veteran Memorial and Douglasville, Fairburn Road, actually, right by the railroad track.
Okay, Gulf, is it branded
yes,
Gulf Oil?
yes, sir.
Okay, just wanted to make sure I knew where you were. And you've been in the business, you said you'd worked under another owner for how many years?
For 6 years.
6 years,
Yes,
okay.
sir.
And you're going to take over as the
As the-
manager
yes, sir.
there in the store? Will you actually own the
I
store?
am the owner and the manager, yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. That's all I had, Mr. Davis, thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? At this time, we have to hold a public hearing. And in the public hearing, we give someone 5 minutes to speak against you to have a license, and 5 minutes to speak for it. So right now, we'll open the floor up for 5 minutes to speak for your license. Since there are no takers, we open the floor up to speak against your license. Okay, we close the public hearing, so we have no takers. Come back on Monday and thank you, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
Moving right along, Madam Mayor, adopt an ordinance waiving enforcement of the $500 late fees required by City Code Section 1023B for filing of license renewal application and payment of license fees for alcoholic beverage license for calendar year 2021 and authorize refund of all such late fees already paid. Ms. Callan, thank you, Ms. Callan, for coming out.
Yes, sir. Karin, Callan, Finance Director, 6695 Church Street. And this time of year is the time that we renew our alcohol licenses and business licenses. We sent out a renewal in the middle of October for an information return on our alcohol licenses, not business license, alcohol licenses, for November 15th. Well, we've had an unusual amount of people who make late payments, and this is, I've been here for almost 20 years now, and this is the first time we've had this many. So in talking to Councilman Davis, and he's had some contact from some of his constituents, and I've actually received a phone call. They asked, could we, due to COVID, due to the situation they're dealing with, could we waive the $500 late fee and extend the deadline for that to 12/31. So we've had 9 people pay the late fee, so we would be refunding that. But right now, that is the request, if we could just extend the deadline for 12/31 and not fine them.
Could you explaining to them what other cities are doing?
Yes, we did some research, and the city of Carrollton, they have a 10% penalty, but their deadline is 12/31. The city of Hiram, theirs is also due on 11/30, and they have a 20% late fee, so theirs is a little bit higher than ours. Douglas County, theirs are due 12/31 with a late fee of $750. And then Austell has a 10% late fee, and they are not late until January 1st.
Okay. Council members? Yes, Council Miller?
I'm suspecting, you said you sent the notifications out in middle of October?
We send the notifications in the middle of October for November 15th deadline.
I'm suspecting that those got mixed in with the tsunami of absentee ballots that were being mailed at the same time.
Good point. That's a very good point.
Good point.
Probably what happened, I suspect, so.
Yeah, good point, Terry. Thank you.
That's probably what happened.
Yeah,
Absentee ballots, maybe.
As an alcohol licensee, you're not looking for a renewal every year, approximately the same time?
No, I'm saying that there might have been delays in the mail because they were sent out. That's
okay.
Is that what you were hearing?
That's some of the
people were
comments
saying
that I'm
they weren't getting
hearing.
them
The
late?
comments that I'm hearing, yes, there was some, we didn't receive it.
There weren't any losses in their sale of alcohol? Alcohol was one of the essentials.
They did. That's some of the comments are that, we've had to do curbside service. And so can you please give us an exception for this year because of the loss in sales on some of the distributors, they had increase in sales of alcohol.
A lot of the alcohol places had
but some of the restaurants are, have had to deal with curbside service, and those are the comments that I've received.
So these are restaurants typically, or?
It's restaurants, grocery stores, it's all the above.
So you're asking just to extend it to the 31st?
Yes, ma'am.
But you said refund $500.
There are 9 people that have already paid the fine, and that's before, we realized that there was an issue, a major issue. So if you did decide to allow the extension, then it would only be fair to refund the people that paid the $500.
Just pay back.
And then if they didn't pay by 12/31, then they would owe $500. Right. If anybody who did not pay by 12/31, then they would owe the $500.
Okay.
Mr. Davis,
Yes,
another
sir.
question for Ms. Callan. Ms. Callan, what would you say that the 9 people that have requested it, what percentage of the total of the number of alcohol licensees in our city?
Are in the city?
Roughly. I mean, what percent? We're dealing with city licensees only, of course. We're in the city.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And of 9, how many total do we have?
We have 99 total.
So it's about 10%.
Right. And 75 paid. So we do have, 75 paid on time. And we do have a handful that are asking, for an extension.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, if it's the council pledge, I'd like to put this on consent agenda for Monday.
I would disagree with that. I would ask that we do not put it on the consent agenda for Monday, in case we want to have more discussion. I need to let that sink in a little bit. I understand during COVID that's a situation that we may need to help address and to take care of them, but I don't know that we would have consensus with Coach Watts having left the meeting early. I don't know that I don't want to put it on the consent agenda, so I would say that we do not. It's my opinion.
Anyone else?
Councilman Davis, do you want to add this to the 5 o'clock meeting for more discussion, or do you want to just leave it up for a vote on Monday?
You want to put it on the consent agenda? I mean, not the consent agenda. You want to put it on the committee agenda for 5 o'clock on Monday, or you just want to leave it on this agenda on our docket to vote?
Put it on 5 o'clock for discussion.
Okay.
Could I ask one more question, Mr. Chairman? Just as in general, is that normal that we would have that many that would pay late on any given year?
It is not normal.
Not normal.
Not
okay.
normal. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I have, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Ms. Callan. We'll move on to Recreation, Culture, and Tourism Committee. The Vice Chair is you, Councilman Davis. me see. Did I have the right thing? Yep. Councilman Davis, did you hear me? Record and Culture, your
No
vice
items
chair.
at this time, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
You're welcome. Technology Committee, that's chaired by Mayor Pro Tem Terry Miller.
No business under the Technology Committee at this time, Madam Mayor.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. Transportation Committee, that's chaired by Councilmember Dr. LaShun Danley.
No business tonight, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
You're welcome. Do we have any other business to come before council tonight from council members? The only thing I would say, and it's not really related to an agenda item for business, is that for I know we had some discussion about the Christmas decorations, and we hired a company this year, since we could not have our traditional Christmas parade, that we hired them to put up more decorations, and we'd have snow and all of that out in case people, you know, drive by and see the fabricated snow. It is part of the decorations, but it looks really, really nice, and I thank the city manager and staff for staying on the company and helping us to get those decorations up. And city manager did report to me that the decorations were going up today at Jesse Davis Park, and I'm not certain if you have any resolve to that or if it'll, Mr. Roberts.
Has confirmed that they will be up tomorrow. Is that correct, Mr. Roberts? And ready to, yeah.
It's still.
Yeah, they're still working tomorrow, so you should see lights this weekend. So if you drive by, you'll see them. They've been working.
Okay, because we do see I've seen a lot of people taking pictures in front of the conference center and O'Neill Plaza, so we can expand our footprint and start having some pictures done at Jesse Davis Park, and Hunter Park has beautiful decorations as well. So that's all I had. Any other business from council members? Announcements. Thank you so much. We'll go on to updates from city staff. Our city attorney, Mr. Joel Dotson.
No business, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Chief Assistant City Attorney, Ms. Suzan Littlefield.
No business, Madam Mayor.
And for those council members, thank you, Ms. Littlefield, who weren't able to come to the employee recognitions. Ms. Littlefield celebrated 26 years as the in the legal department with the city, and also she is the Employee of the Year. So let's give her a hand. She's Employee of the Year. Thank you so much. Our Chief of Police, our Police Department, Mr. That's JR back there.
No business, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Our City Manager, Ms. Marcia Hampton.
No business, Madam Mayor.
Really? Okay. Staff reports. Do we have any staff reports? We do not. Comments from citizens and delegates. If you all sustain the meeting and you'd like to come forward to address us, please come. Give us your name and address for the record, and we'd love to hear from you. And we have our former Mayor Pro Tem and the Honorable Mr. Richard Siegel.
That is me, and I'm at 9905 Ashford Greenway.
Yes, sir.
I did not come Tuesday for this special called Planning Commission meeting. I watched online
Yes,
through
sir.
YouTube, and it's great that we're able to do that. The reason I came today is because when somebody calls in and speaks through the speakerphone to address the council or the Planning Commission, you can't hear it on the YouTube broadcast.
Oh.
So I wanted to bring that to your attention, that I know you're working on conference center, AV upgrades, but I think if that could be addressed, as long as we're in this situation where people are choosing to watch online so that they
Yes.
don't go out in public, you got to make sure that those callers are heard on YouTube as well.
Thank you so much for bringing that to our attention. We weren't aware of that. I thought you could hear.
Some of it has to do with the volume that the end user has as well. So like tonight, the volume, we had her mic all the way up, but if she doesn't have hers up, it's hard for us. But what we can do is communicate to those who are online to increase their volume.
Okay, maybe put an additional microphone or something. I'm not an IT person, but to try to help.
Me neither.
To help us to hear. But thank you for bringing that to our attention. Definitely not aware. Yes, ma'am.
No, I haven't. The times that I have been offline, and been able to listen, I've heard. So it is definitely the person on the other side. And it could every once in a while be on the city's end, but usually it's on the other side. But I haven't seen any problems.
Okay. Well, thank
Heard
you
any
so
problems.
much.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Any other comments from citizens and delegates? Please come forward, and we love to hear from you. Any business germane to the city of Douglasville?
Fielder Roberts,
Yes, sir.
3219 Blackley Old Road, Douglasville, Georgia. So just to reiterate what Richard, the other gentleman was up here, said, online, if you're listening to the YouTube channel during the city council or the special hearings, even if you're not calling in, just listening, you have to turn the volume really high up. So if you guys have the microphones, if y'all could speak into it, or if there's something to work with the provider to increase the volume
Yes,
that
sir.
you're piping through there.
Thank you so much.
Just a
Good.
FYI.
Yes, sir, because that defeats the whole purpose. I mean, we want to be seen, but we don't want you trying to read our lips. We want to be heard as well.
We were listening to the car ride down here, and it was when
Oh
it was
my
like all the way
gosh.
up.
Oh, wow. Thank you
We
so
forgot to
much.
turn the volume down when the radio came back on.
Yeah. Thank you. We appreciate you bringing that to our attention. Any other comments from the audience, from our citizens? Thank you. Do we have any other business to come before committees? I mean, not committees, but council tonight for legislative work session? Not having seen it, then this meeting is adjourned.